Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. Can we please rise to the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll open the meeting up to public comment for agenda items only. Please, if you have any comments, state your name and your question. Okay, no public comment. We'll close public comment. We'll move into our consent items. We're going to go from DA1 to D.5.4. Like usual, if you have any questions, comments, you want to pull any individual item out, we can do that and vote on it separately. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Everybody's okay?
You're looking for questions now, or?
Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, just quickly, number 5 with the SIP purchase orders. Is that stuff covered in the capital project, or is that coming?
They are part of the capital project, I believe, the contingency fund.
Okay, thank you.
That's
All of the items?
right, yes.
All of the items.
Just the ones under number 5.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to move the consent agenda forward? Motion by Tom, second by Ed. No further questions?
So number 2 is our proceeding, correct? Tax proceeding?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Tom, second by Ed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
And our student rep unfortunately could not be here this evening, so we are going to table that and put it on the next agenda. Lisa's already made the agenda acknowledged for that.
It's nice to see we were ahead of the curve on that. It's been legislated now that every school board is mandated.
Yep.
Go to our assistant soup for curriculum instruction.
Wow.
What's up?
Before you mix it.
Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. I feel like Ian now. I have 2 items to share with you. Last week, Joel Patrick and I attended the New York State Council of School Superintendents Conference in Saratoga. There were several valuable sessions, and I thought I'd highlight some important updates regarding eventual changes to graduation requirements. That said, we'll find out more about it next month, about the timeline, but I don't see any changes happening in the next couple of years in the immediate future. So the New York State Education Department is preparing to implement recommendations from the Blue Ribbon Commission on graduation measures aimed at promoting greater equity in education. The initiative, launched in 2019, seeks to ensure all students are provided the opportunities and skills necessary to succeed. So there are 4 key transformations. The first is Portrait of a Graduate, and there are 7 key areas of this Portrait of a Graduate. It includes critical thinking, problem solving, literacy across content areas, cultural competence, social emotional competence, effective communication, and global citizenship. Graduates will be required to show competency in all 7 of those areas. The next transformation is redefining credits, and in a nutshell, it's pretty much new opportunities will include expanded career tech education and financial literacy offerings, and students will have multiple pathways to show this. They'll have options. Seals of biliteracy, CTE programs that we currently have through Ulster BOCES. Regents exams are one of the options they have. Summer internships, it's taking English composition courses, which we offer through our dual enrollment with colleges, and undertaking locally developed capstone projects, which we started the past couple of years anyway. So it seems like we're on the right path there. The third transformation is sunsetting diploma assessment requirements, and this is what I think most high school students want to hear about, and it's not the news they want to hear, I don't think. So Regents exams will no longer be mandatory graduation requirement, but they will remain one of the several assessment options available. Students will still be required to sit for the Regents exams, specifically English, Science, and Math, as per the federal guidelines under the Every Student Succeeds Act. So we still have to give them. Students don't necessarily have to pass them to graduate as long as they have the other pathways in line. Not sure exactly what that's going to mean for the scores or how well they do, but they don't. Right now, they have to pass all the Regents exams to graduate, so that they will be one of the several pathways they have. And then the fourth transformation is transition to a single diploma. So New York State currently offers 3 types of diplomas. There's a local diploma, a Regents diploma, and an advanced Regents diploma. They're going to eliminate all those 3 choices, and there's going to be just one diploma, but the individual districts will be able to make distinctions on those diplomas with seals of biliteracy, seals of civic readiness, and different types of endorsements like that, recognizing special achievements. So this detailed rollout plan, including timelines and necessary regulatory changes, will be presented to the Board of Regents and the public in November. For now, the current graduation requirements remain in effect until changes are officially approved. I got the sense, listening to the Deputy Commissioner, talking that this will be a very timely process. They want to do it right. I remember I wrote down some quotes. They said, we know this doesn't work for this, the process now doesn't work for every student, and they don't want to replace it with another process that doesn't work for every student. So they're trying to slow down and do it correctly. So I don't see many changes happening in the next few years anyway. But we'll know more in November when they roll it out to the Board of Regents. So that's all about that. I have one more item. So earlier today, our building principals reached out to all parents in the district. Those of you who have kids in the district probably got that email. Through email with one question about student cell phone usage in our schools. Parents have the opportunity to share their feedback until the end of the school day on Friday, October 4th. That's this Friday. It is, for those who took it, if you saw it, it's one question. It takes about 30 seconds to do. I'm passing out the questions to you right now. Generally speaking, it's, which do you prefer? What we currently do, this is our current practice in the school. They're very specific, each question to each school. So the elementary, middle school, and high school each have separate questions. Very specific. Do you prefer the current practice, which is this right now? Do you prefer a partial ban, which will allow, and this is really specifically high school, a partial ban which will allow students to access their phones during study halls and lunch, but not in class, in academic classes? Or do you promote a full ban, which they're not allowed out at all during the school day between 7:40 and 2:20 p.m.? And very importantly, I point out that there is also a comment box, so everybody who takes it can put a comment about whatever they want about that topic. So the timeline, having it end this Friday the 4th at the end of the school day, this will allow the principals time to review the responses and prepare to share the results with the board members in Joel's Friday update on October 11th. So hopefully that'll help guide the discussion and we'll be able to see. Good news about this too, I just checked at 5:54 p.m. I was able to log on to see how many responses we got so far. Elementary school, we have 159 responses. In the middle school, we got 140 responses. In the high school, we had 130 responses, and that was just in the first 5 or 6 hours of it being, because the email went out about noon, 1 o'clock today. So I didn't look at the responses yet, but I was able to see I tallied them up. So I think that's a pretty good response rate considering. So I'm hoping there'll be some good information that'll be forwarded to you to help guide the conversation that we have. And that's all I have. I can answer any questions. Yes.
I have a question. Going back to, I know a lot of stuff is still up in the air and things aren't going to change for the next few years, as you said, with regards to the Regents. In terms of offering the Regents, right? So last year there was some discussion about other areas not offering it, but at every time that the Regents is offered, meaning January, June, and August. Has there been any discussion with regards to if that's changing? And will those 3 times to take the Regents still continue currently? Because I know last year there was some discussion amongst local high schools if they were going to hold the Regents Week in January.
I did not hear any discussion about that. I do think that's a local decision still.
Okay.
And I personally don't see the state the state changing that while the Regents are still required to graduate. I think that's a local decision for each. I do think, even if, let's say, because we often, high school doesn't shut down, but we close for Regents Week often in January. Even if some schools don't do that, but the schools who don't do that, the ones I know still do offer the Regents. They just have classes and kids pulled out of the classes to take the Regents. The reason for that is in January, usually much fewer students take the Regents than in June. So I don't believe anything will change, except that we'll still offer the Regents. Like, we don't offer the Regents in August. Ulster BOCES does for the county. So they're still offered to our students, it's just at a separate location. So I don't believe that'll change at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And it's actually still scheduled in the state calendar, so they're still going to print them, and there's going to be an administration at least through this year.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Zimmer?
Thank
All
you.
right, Dr. Boyd?
So 2 weeks ago, I met with our team and representatives from the county. So what we're looking at is updating our traumatic event team for the county. And this is something, obviously, we hope we never have to use and other districts don't have to use. But essentially, if there's a tragedy at a school district in the county, typically their superintendent will reach out to the BOCES superintendent, and then he reaches out to the districts to say, who can provide some mental health supports, who can provide some, whatever resources that district might need. They're trying to just improve and streamline it, because sometimes it can be a little hectic if you have people showing up from another district and there's no point person, they don't know how to help, and then it's like that first day and then they don't feel used, and then so we're trying to improve the process, making point people and finding people specialized in specific areas of different tragedies, and then looking at how we connect, like if there's people that, if you have a relationship with the district right next to you, and maybe you two partner if there's an issue. So we're going to continue to meet to just try to improve that process and that group. It's been a while since we kind of fine-tuned that, so we're going to be doing that over the next few months. And again, hopefully something that we don't have to use. We bid farewell to Miss Samuel yesterday down at the elementary school. We thank her for all of her time here. We did start the process of replacing Miss Samuel. So we had our posting up. We had our interview committee look through the resumes, and we started a screening process. So we're screening a number of candidates and then whittling that down to some candidates that will be coming in for our first round of in-person interviews over the next week or so. So we'll be looking to finalize that candidate over the next few weeks to get them in. Thank you to Ms. Kelly, who's helping fill in for us over the next however many weeks it takes us to fill the position, and whatever the new candidate is when they're able to start with us. So thank you to Deb Kelly for coming in and helping us out there. And just lastly, going off some of the stuff that we were looking at the NISCUS conference, one of the areas that we're going to begin to focus a little bit on, we've been talking about college and career readiness. And one of the new ideas that, is starting to catch some traction is more about just life readiness in general, right? Just encompassing everything, whether it's college, it's career, it's life skills. So just looking at, and it all ties into the portrait of a graduate, of what we want our students to be able to do and what skills they need when they leave here for us. So just fine tuning and improving some of that area.
Any questions for Dr. Boyd? Okay, thank you. Do you have any recognitions?
So these two gentlemen went to the more interesting sessions. I went to the more mundane when we were at NISCUS. So I did attend a Foundation Aid and Save Harmless workshop with two of the gentlemen who are part of the Rockefeller Institute. They gave us really no information. They told us about their tour around the state, that they took information from folks. I had my information to give them that day as well, but I had also given that to Assemblyman Jacobson. They talked about their recommendations are due to the governor on December 1st, and then they would be going from there with recommendations on how to change the Foundation Aid formula, but they did not give any hints on what it is they're actually going to recommend. So the room was the largest room there, and it was over capacity. There was standing room only because that was the biggest question that people have is about that situation in the current formula. I did attend another session on data management, and New York State is rolling out a new and quote more robust data management structure within the next coming years, and it will require more oversight and authentic data sources. And this is all at the beginning of their cycle. So just to put it on our radar, so in the future we may need to report more data than we're currently reporting. And there were some very I'm doing that piece. So I didn't have a lot to say to that. I was just listening. There were a lot of not so happy people about that new mandate with no new monies coming to follow that. So that was my 2 big sessions. I went to a couple of feel-good ones too about education, but they spoke about them. Capital project, as I texted the board today, the press box did arrive today from Kentucky. So it is on the back hill. It will be set this week. The concession stand is moving forward. I think we're almost ready for trusses and the roof, and paving is scheduled before during that first the week of October 15th from the parking lot up to the bleachers so that we can use that. Homecoming is scheduled for Saturday, October 19th. And that brings that. And so we've got the change orders that we did this evening. Also, just so that you're aware, our website, I think I mentioned this a few times, we are undergoing new changes to our website. So we have two websites running in parallel right now, the one that's public and the one that we're populating. We've been meeting with Jess Murray and Alyssa DeFelice from Ulster Bosse's with the hope that would we would have that rollout in January or February of 2025. This afternoon, Desmond and I, so this is the start of budget development. Desmond and I met with Zach Adams, the Business Development and Member Relations Manager at NYSBA. We discussed the possibility of doing a review of district budgeting to see if there are any other revenue sources or areas to maximize our funds before we go into the next budget season. This Friday update, I will actually give you some information that Zach is forwarding to me this evening, along with a sample contract. Other local districts have gone into this relationship and they found some cost savings, some more than others. And the NYSBA audit is supposed to try to find savings. If they find savings, they take, in that first year of savings, they take a little bit of that, they take a percentage. But then after that, it's just up to us to make sure that we budget in that same format. If they find nothing, they take nothing. There's no cost to us. So Desmond and I did a Zoom with him this afternoon, and we're looking forward to seeing what he has to bring forward. And I'll put that, hopefully I'll have it before Friday. I'll put it in my Friday update. If you can please take a look at that, get back to me with what your thoughts are. If we look like we're going to move forward with that process, I know Marlboro has done it and did recognize some savings within their budget. We'd like to get that up and going so that we can get a contract together maybe for the next board meeting. And then the other thing is regionalization. That's another topic that came up at NSCIS, but that's something that the Board of Regents are talking about. It's not combining school districts. That's a misnomer. I think in some of the smaller districts way up in the northern parts of the state or out in the western parts of the state, there might be talks of putting school districts together, but this is really recognizing what our strengths and our weaknesses are in a region and see what kinds of things we can share among different school districts. We do I think a really good job here in Ulster County of sharing those services already, but there's a survey that I need to import to the state portal by the beginning of November, so my team has been working on that all week, and actually the week before we went up to NSCIS so that I could ask some questions about what kinds of things they wanted in that survey. So hopefully by the end of this week, I will have that all done so that it can be reviewed by the team before I send it off November 1st. And I did fail. Kimberly is here. I failed to mention that Kimberly Healy is here. She's gonna be our LPN at the elementary school, so I apologize. I skipped over that portion of the So welcome to Highland, and I normally do that right after we do consent agenda so that folks that get recognized can actually, you have a little guy there, and I apologize that I didn't recognize you sooner. So congratulations and thank you for coming to work with us, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yes, thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
All right.
You're
welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Any questions? I never asked if they had questions. Okay.
He wants to know if you have questions.
If you do have any questions on the Zach Adams thing that I'm going to send you this weekend, please get them to me early on Monday or even on Sunday if you look at it, so that I can get them to Zach and get you answers, so that if we're going to move forward with that process, I can get that ball rolling.
We're gonna try to maximize any savings before we submit to them.
Yes.
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 Well, that was our conversation. That Desmond has actually had this experience. He's worked with similar folks, so he already knows some things that he's going to look at
Yeah, I
before.
was gonna say, found money's found money, but
That's
if we
right.
can beat them to the punch, it's that
So-
much less of a percentage, right?
Yeah.
Just to follow up Joel's comments regarding the capital project. As you know, the press box arrived today. And that was an undertaking that took probably 5 weeks for it to arrive. But with that being said, the support service had a meeting last week, and we kind of directed our construction management firm that that press box has to be in operation, including access to the football field for the week of October 14th, because I believe we're going to have 2 soccer games, a boys and a girls soccer game, and we're going to have the homecoming boys varsity football game on the Saturday. So what we were told that, and I'm just going to kind of counter what Joel had said, I believe they told us that paving was going to take place on the 10th and 11th of October, which is next Thursday and Friday.
Right.
But maybe with the rain and some delays, but they have their directive that this Board of Education, and I'm hopefully that you're all on board with it, to have that field ready for operation the week of October 14th. Whatever they need to do, if the teams that have to come together to install the press box, wire it, get all communication, everything in order, they have to work overtime and work a Saturday, they have to do it. We're hoping that the roof is on the concession stand, mason is done out of there so that area can be cleaned up, paved, and we have access to the field for emergency services. And
The concession stand will not be
will
operational.
not be operational, correct. So that's an update from the support service. So I'm hoping that the board's all good with that, and we're looking to show the community completion of the turf field. Not the completion of the track, which will take place in the spring or early summer, but we will be in operation. Okay.
And you expect the field to be in operation from that point forward?
Yes. Yes.
Did the construction management or any of the vendors express any concern?
The field's been ready for probably a month and a half now. The holdup was the press box, which was supposed to be shipped 4 or 5 weeks ago, and a little bit of delay in the concession stand. But we knew the concession stand was not going to be ready for this fall. But earlier on, late summer,
I haven't even looked back there. Is the concession stand like weather ready? Do we have a
Not
structure there? It's nothing? Is
we
it
should
still-
have a roof on this coming week. Yeah.
Okay.
But that whole road needs to be done that's in front of it. There's actually, it juts out a little bit, so it's not a straight road any longer. It's going to kind of curve a little bit. So that needs to be done so that we have egress.
Okay.
So
They didn't seem to have a problem with it. All right.
You never get a second chance at this stuff. That's all I'm saying.
No, and we haven't really pushed a
People
lot.
are off it. It's hard. Once they're on it, it's
Yeah.
tough to get them off.
No, that field has been ready, I believe.
It's got all the infill.
All that's it. Yeah. The track is the only thing that's not coated. But all the
Well, we
fencing,
know
We knew
all the
that.
fencing's up. That's been up for a while.
And, blacktops, blacktop.
Yeah.
Good, all right, exciting.
We're good. Any other questions for the superintendent? All right, under Board of Education, new business, equipment donation. Be it resolved, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the following donations from the Highland Big Blue Football Booster Club worth $7,660 for the purpose of high and middle school students in the football program. They're going to get Rogers two-man blocking sled, 6 tackling tubes that are to replace previous metals that have been damaged during winter of 2023, tackling wheel to be utilized by the modified team, and 2 tackling crash pads. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Ed, second by Janine. Discussion?
Thank you, Big Blue Football.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you still part of it?
Yes, I'm still one of the founding directors.
Good,
Well done.
nice job.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Ulster County School Board Association Distinguished Friends of Education Awards recognition dinner to be held November 21st, 2024. RSVP is to be in by November 4th if you would like to go. I believe we can announce who.
We are recognizing legislator Gina Hansett this year. So she did get her letter finally, so now it's no longer something that's secret. She was very thankful to the school district and the Board of Education in particular for nominating her. UXPA pays for any board member who would like to attend that dinner, and then any guest that you want to bring is an additional, I think it's $50.
Where's it gonna be held?
It's at the venue in Kingston, which is the old Holodome. Is it Best Western?
I think it's Best Western.
When I lived in Kingston, it was a Holodome, so
That was 50
Right.
years ago.
it was 50 years ago. Right off of the traffic circle. So, and then
He doesn't head north. He only
every
goes
school
south.
district handles the recognition differently. The last couple of years, I've done the recognition, but if any board member would like to be the spokesperson that evening to stand and do a recognition of Gina, if you have a relationship or you have something that you would like to be the presenter, I'd be more than happy to allow you to do that. I think it's good when because this is a school boards association event. It's nice if a school board member does recognize the folks that we're recognizing, but if no one's interested in doing that, I will most certainly do that. So just let me know if that's something that you want to do. All right?
Okay, we have 2 addendums from Anderson Center. The first one, Addendum 1, Anderson Center Consulting and Training Service Agreement. Be it resolved, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the following agreement between Highland Central School District and Anderson Center Consulting and Training Services between the time period of September 30th, 2024 through June 30th of 2025 for the purpose of providing program-based services and behavioral consultation for the district as on an as-needed basis. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Heather, second by Janine. Discussion?
The second one reads the same. Is it just that you need 2 agreements? It's like, isn't it exactly the same?
They send 2, one's for consultation and one's for evaluation
There,
purposes. So
okay, yeah.
No further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Gotcha, that's what.
So carried. Agreement number 2, be it resolved, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the following agreement between the Highland Central School District and the Anderson Center Consulting and Training Services. Agreement between the time period of September 30th, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 for the purpose of providing program-based services and behavioral consultation for the district on an as-needed basis. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Mike, second by Jen. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Circling back really quickly, Patrick, why, if one is for consulting, the other is for services, why don't they state that? They both state consulting and services.
I'm not really
The
sure. They send the
agreements-
2
Yeah, the
agreements.
agreements are worded different, all those pages
Oh,
are
okay, so
just,
these are just,
that just
facts.
is real
that's an
summary.
agreement summary, okay.
Yes,
Probably different rates.
yes.
Okay, go to old business.
Before we go on to old business, just because there was a little conversation about the Highland Big Blue Booster Club. I just want to say that Mike Ellison and Brian Howfield, as well as myself, I'm not trying to take all that credit. The three of us together are the founding directors, and so I just want to acknowledge Brian and Mike towards that as well.
Well, again, thanks to them and all the Booster Club.
Thank you, Janine. Under old business, cell phone policy discussion.
So just so you're aware, one thing that I went with my ears open trying to see if we'd hear anything from the governor's office when we were at that conference, crickets. But I did speak to some other districts. Some are having some success with the Yonder bags, and some are having absolute disaster with the Yonder bags. So just to bring that point of information back. One school district is using it as the Yonder bag as a disciplinary approach. So if you're caught with it, then it goes in the Yonder bag. It's almost like wearing the scarlet letter. And I think that's what that superintendent said. He goes, that probably was a mistake that we're using it that way. So they're going to be revising their process. So just those are the only two things that I heard when I was in Albany, and the governor's office still has not given an indication one way or the other.
I think anybody who thinks they're going to out-check students is a fool.
Absolutely, I would agree.
So as we mentioned at the last meeting, we asked for parental, participation in our board meetings. We've also asked for staff participation in our board meeting during this cell phone policy discussion. So we're here again this evening. I'll open it up right now. If any parent or staff member has any input into your feelings with the cell phone policy, we're glad to hear that. Just state your name. Otherwise, we'll continue our discussion. So if anyone, just raise your hand and jump up, and you can add your comments to your feelings with the cell phone policy. But as we mentioned earlier, and I said it, I'm not in favor of total restriction. I think there's got to be a happy medium where we can get a good handle on the cell phone use. Let it be proactive in the sense that it's for educational purposes, and kind of restricted on the social end of it, because I think that's where a lot of the issues are coming from, the social end of cell phone use. And we all know it. I mean, you walk into a classroom, you walk into a school setting, everybody's on their cell phone at some point in time, especially during the breaks and lunch and after school, before school, during study halls and such. So, I mean, we have to look at that carefully, I think, as a Board of Education. I know Mike back in March presented a modification to our policy. We don't have it per se cell phone policy. We have a electronic device policy, so we should look at that. And once we get to a place where we're comfortable with presenting it, we'll develop a policy.
Well, I think the next step was to get those documents to legal to actually draft the policy, and also if there's any pitfalls there, concerns, they would raise the awareness. And I think we should move forward with that, because that'll get us a draft that we can read in front of us and say, well, I like this or not. All the while we're trying to gather data, but
right.
Yeah, I'm eager to see
my concern with data is it's 3 questions and it's going to land a third.
I don't think so. Because I was reading through these, and I was actually excited to see this. And I think the questions are it's a nice, well-rounded approach on each of them. I would lean towards, personally, on the high school option 2, which is to implement a partial restriction. And the only caveat I would make is to allow the teacher to, I think what's been lacking is a policy that says during class time they are not to be out, and then we can allow the teacher the ability to say, I'll allow you to have them out, during this period, and the teacher being the instructor or the head of the class. I think it's better in that sense that the students know they're not supposed to be out, and an exception can be made by the instructor, as opposed to saying, the teacher having to say, okay, now's the time for you to put them all away. And that takes up class time, that takes up instructional time, as you pointed out very effectively. So I think that's a more proactive approach, allowing the, as you mentioned, Al, it gives them a certain degree of autonomy in their own time. And then the teachers have their class time back, and they can choose whether to use them as research tools, and the students can use the respect that they they should be giving us those
I
reasons.
think I'm pretty black and white on instructional time. It is not to be used. I'd like to see those district devices used more. I think the concern is because, classes are made up of all sorts of age groups. It's a maturity thing. I don't doubt that the teacher has some apps that they think are really useful. The problem is your least common denominator, the student who's not listening, steals approximately 5 to 10 minutes every day from students who would use it appropriately. That's the problem, is kids don't use them appropriately. And the data that we see is, we know that a lot of fights and bullying actually start electronically. I think I saw the number was like 46% in one of the articles that we wrote. It's a high percentage, guys. I'm all about student performance, and in life you have to make decisions. You might not like them, but those are parameters. Now, if I go to the courtroom, I don't like to leave the cell phone in the car or in the little box they give me. But you know what? I'm not getting in without it.
How often are you there, Mike?
Often enough. So, it's just, I think these parameters have their place in society, and, I'm interested in pursuing a policy that really protects the instructional time. But on those other times, lunchtime, study hall, again, I'm open to some access to the device.
Would it be beneficial, Mike, if we were to, if you could get policies that have already been drafted by our legal team from other school districts that are implementing a cell phone restriction?
I think
so. See what they look like.
And that aligned with like number two.
I asked for that last year, and there weren't very many out there that were descript. There was more just what
we could go
the
back and
schools
review
did.
the
It
Wappingers
wasn't-
policy. I think that we have an email.
They're the ones who's in yonder bags.
All this
Oh,
is,
no, right.
all this is after accumulating this data and absorbing it.
Yes, of course, of
I want to
course.
see the data.
Will
from
we
the
have this
surveys.
data in our?
You won't
Friday?
you won't have it in this Friday's update. You will have it in next Friday's update.
By the end of October, let's say.
No, you'll have it by
Sooner?
on October 11th. You'll have it so that it can then start. It can help feed the conversation on the 15th, which is our next board meeting.
Okay.
Jen, did you see a copy of what Mike proposed last year? Maybe that should get sent too, so that.
The
I could-
updated,
I could send that around again, and I thought there was one that we did share. Maybe we'll just reshare it.
I can go back. I know I shared all of them probably last September.
you drafted, Mike, back in March.
Just 'cause I don't take time.
I find the yonder bags, is it so called?
Yeah.
An unnecessary expense for the district. I don't think we need them. All along, I've been a proponent of option one, because I do think the teachers have control of the classroom. And a lot of them are very successful at it, that they should be able to control that in the class. But I will take a step back into option two, pretty much backing up what Ed said. But I have a concern, changeover time in between classes. That would be an off time, right? We would consider that, like, can't use them in the hallways when you're,
It's not instructional time, I'll answer you that way.
but to get,
But it could be a distraction to delay them from getting to their next class.
That's what I'm thinking.
Like 3 minutes.
They're all gonna pull them out of their pockets, as soon as they go into the
Well, that
hallway,
would be an
and they have 3
automatic.
minutes to get to the next class. I don't see how you could really manage that.
I don't think we should allow that if we're gonna go with it.
I think the original data that we got from staff during those surveys basically said that cell phone use in classrooms were a detriment to the educational process. I mean, it
All
was
the
clear
studies have
as
shown
far as the percentages.
And it was over.
Highly clear.
Yes.
Of
Over
percentages.
50%.
Yeah, well over 50%. I think we're in the 70s with a lot of it. I have to disagree, Tom. I don't believe it's being managed by all staff members. There might be a few that are managing the use of the cell phone, but I think for the most part, there's no teeth to any of our policies for them to go to and say, hey, this is the policy, Board of Education approved this, we can't use our cell phones in the classroom setting. We don't have
I'm
that
sure
right
it's
now.
exhausting to try to manage.
We don't have that right now.
There's a reason it's a discussion, not even nationally, it's a global discussion that's taking place, and many countries have already, effectively, and again, I'll say again, this technology is only 20 years old, and so this is a new
And we know
societal.
they've been overexposed, right?
Yeah.
That's what the positive lawsuit of Google and all the others, Apple. Why? Because it was their invention and they were out in front. But we know that
And
the
all those
kids
social
have-
media platforms are
the
putting
algorithms
restrictions.
was
Yeah.
just
And that's it, we're just learning the effects on the developmental education. And so I think we need to continue to educate ourselves and react accordingly with sound data, not just, not to be reactive, for being reactive, but to utilize the data, utilize information.
So I will try to get you, if I can figure out which board meeting it was last year, I can pull the ones that I gave you, and I know I have Mike's. I'll get that in this Friday's update, and next week I'll give you the survey data that we are getting from parents this week.
I am meeting with the Ulster County Assistant Superintendents for Curriculum and Instruction on Friday morning, and I will raise this question, ask if anybody has an existing recent policy or is in process of it. That's with all the Ulster County schools, so I'll find out. I'll ask on Friday.
Can I ask, I assume, and being, a parent and knowing that this would be my first question, and I think the reason most of them are going to want to know if their children have their cell phones and are accessible is because they want to be able to get in touch with them. They want to make sure they're safe in the case of an emergency. and
what
they wanna
time
know
do
where
I have
they
to
are.
pick you up after practice?
Right, so-
Something, I don't need that at 10 a.m., but if you could text me by the end of school, that'd
Exactly.
be good to know.
But I think,
Those are the types of things.
I think there's going to be a big hit if we move forward in these restrictions. There's going to be a big hit on the offices as people are first testing out what, how do I get in touch with my child? How can I make sure my child is safe and secure? So I just want to make sure we're keeping that in mind. We're thinking of a way to buffer
Well,
up
we
the
will give
offices.
you, I know there's already some comments in that comment section, so each one of them, we left an additional comment section.
That's good.
We'll
Qualitative.
give you all of those comments, and then we'll calculate up what the percentage of, option 1, option 2, option 3 for each of the schools is.
Because I just don't want to see like poor Mary Ann get bombarded
No,
with stuff.
I hear you.
And just to review, the policy that we were proposing suppressed cell phone use during instructional time, but created a need for the school device as the primary device. It was almost like a two-pronged approach. It doesn't have to be that per se.
Right.
But if they need some technology in the classroom, which most of us would argue that in 2024 and beyond they do, it's got to be their school issued device.
Do we as a board think we have the ability to maybe make a mid-year change? Or do we want
No, they're too
to keep
problematic.
with a certain policy all year?
You're the
I think
board.
your only,
we have to
your
wait.
only choice is to, if you do mid-years, do January when everybody comes back. If you miss that, then you're waiting until next year.
Well, I think we're going to have the results of this. We can move
You'll have
within.
this by next Friday.
I think
School
it's,
just
yeah,
begun.
I think it's an
I mean, we've been
optimistic
kicking- we've been
outlook, but
kicking
we
this
also
around
know
for
that
long.
Yeah, I
things.
think we wait mid-year is too long.
Wasted
Happening.
way too much.
I kind of said it at the last meeting, I'd like to have this in place by January 1.
Yeah.
Or sooner.
Or sooner.
Yeah, I
Or
think as soon as we make a
I
decision, I'd
mean,
like
to
to
roll it out. Janine, I know you have some
Yeah, no,
concerns.
I do have, this is, one thing I do have to say is that, right, so I just had a student who graduated in June so I've been in the high school for the past 4 years. I have another one who's in the high school, but it wasn't until this open house that I could actually tell you that I've noticed the cell phone signs in every single one of my daughter's classrooms. Prior to that, I can't tell you that I saw them. So I don't know if that is also a shift as we've talked more about it, that the teachers are making it more visible. I don't know if it's just because we're talking about it more that I saw it more, but I could tell you that in every classroom I walked in of my daughters this year at open house, they were much more visible that I saw it as soon as I walked in.
I think it's a little of everything. I think the governor has put the message out there. I think other districts have put the message out there. We've been talking about it. I think nationwide there's been discussion about cell phone use in
We had
classes.
a
I think
building level
it's a
policy
combination of
meeting,
everything,
right?
Gene, and
Mayor June.
hopefully the staff is trying to prep the students now for what can happen in January. Any other discussion?
Yeah. Athletics, just to let you know, I mean, we've had a couple teams where, you know, kids would pull out their phones during halftime of games and things like that. So well, right now my son's calling me, sorry. But, you know, and the coach ended up emailing the parents saying, to tell them to tell their sons, you know, no cell phones. And I witnessed it, you know, during timeouts of basketball games and things like that, where kids would run over and look at their phone. And I tell the coaches, you know, all of them, let's all be on the same page. And, you know,
Shouldn't be on
during a contest, they shouldn't be. You know, if there's a break in practice and you know, you're there on a weekend or something, and okay, maybe you have to check something. I get that. But we're trying, as coaches, I'm trying for them to be all consistent across the board. And, you know, on the bus, yeah, they're on it. You know, before the game, okay, you might be on it. But once you get into the locker room, you go out on the court or you go out in the field, I mean, there's no reason for them to be on a cell phone.
I don't
But
see
there
that
is,
in
you know,
any other sports conferences. We certainly shouldn't see it at the high school level. I agree.
I mean, I'll say it. I was at the modified football game down in Marlboro, and there was kids from Highland on the bench on their phone. I was, guys, get your phone, put them away. And then coach ended up addressing that, and you know, since then it hasn't been an issue.
Probably the easiest sport would be baseball or softball because
Oh,
coaches
yeah.
are watching the game and the 9 or 8 or 9 that are on the bench.
The concept
they're
of
on their
distractions is not, what we're saying here is the concept of distractions
That's
that
what
they
it is.
cause
Yes.
is not limited to the instructional setting. It's limited to our outdoor classrooms and those types of things as well.
I think
But-
we're at it. I was gonna say, I think we're, as Ed said before, right? Technology, it's just a new thing, right? So there was always distractions in the classroom, right? Whatever it was at the time, right? Back in the day, this high school had a smoking lounge. And I could tell you the distraction was the kids in my classes next to me flipping their lighters. So right? We're in a new time where now it's technology, now it's cell phones, right? We have to gather all the data, as Ed said, and I think we need to make an informed decision on what we're going to do that is best for our students in terms of their instructional time and our teachers ensuring that they're not, the time that they're putting forth in ensuring that our kids are being educated isn't getting interrupted as well. So there's always going to be distractions. This is just a new time that we have to look at the current distraction and figure out how to alleviate that distraction.
The public should know that cell phones sit on our agenda now for several weeks, and they're gonna be on there several weeks more. So if you wanna come and communicate to the board, that is something that you could speak to up front. You don't have to wait till the second one. That's an agenda item, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
Just
Public homicide.
No, I got the last time, so.
Yeah, I was here, just technical, I tried to click on the agenda on the website today and it went to a website that asked for a login and passwords. I'm not sure how available it is to the public right now.
The agenda
For the meeting.
is available.
Well, so I went on the website.
We can
wanted
show
to-
you after.
Yeah.
I can show you on my phone,
So it's available
It
to
is
everybody.
available,
So
yeah.
maybe I went to the wrong spot because I was
Yeah,
there today and I
right.
clicked on it and it showed me,
Login.
showed me like a login.
I can show you as soon as
Okay.
we're done, but did you wanna make a comment?
Well, I
Yes.
maybe had a question since I
Okay.
already wrote
Go
down
ahead.
the name.
Okay,
Is there anybody on the board that could describe how cell phones or smartphone use is beneficial to the students? Because we named many, we know it's a distraction. Is there any benefit of students using cell phones during school day?
I think, I'll speak on one,
Go ahead.
my understanding. There is an educational force, but as Mike has pointed out, that we have technology that's accessible to them, and probably with better restrictions, given the fact that any cell carrier can carry a lot of things depending on what filters a parent has or has not placed in the phone. It allows access to things that may be inappropriate here in the school setting. So that aside, I think this generation has grown up with, I think a large portion of their socialization takes place on the phones. So to rip it away from them entirely, I know their feedback was to Michael at a meeting last spring. They felt like it was punitive.
Yes.
So I think, if anything, I think they see the value in the socialization, the immediate access to knowledge. I mean, I remember being in a graduate level research and bibliography class where we had to physically go in and you know, you had to put in the microfiche, you had to send away for the magazines, but I can call up any information you need within 5 minutes globally. I mean, our access to information is amazing right now. I think they're used to doing that on a personal device. They find that more comforting. I think what we have to do is create a transition period for them where we can show them that there is an ability to be in the present, in the real time, for things like Frank was just talking about. That I'd hate for them to get to the end of their lives and think that, you know, they missed so many memorable events and so many poignant memories throughout their life because of these. And so I think they're amazing devices, and I think that they have their own substructures of society that you know, they can touch out to anybody on the planet within a second.
So at the end of the day, is it beneficial for them to communicate with cell phones as they?
I think within the proper time frames. I think what's being brought up in other meetings is that we're finding that because it's developmental with them, they and even adults, let's face it, we all have a hard time restricting ourselves, and they've proven it's an addictive device.
Only about 12 to 15% of faculty said they actually use them in a manner where there's an app or something like that. The rest said, you know, after my class, if there's a few minutes left, I don't mind if the students use their cell phone on their own. But, you know, perspective.
I'm just asking if it's what is the benefit?
You're saying as opposed to
there's a benefit of having a device in class, not a cellular device.
Their own. I'm just asking their own phone with
their
own apps. What's the benefit of them using it?
And you're playing devil's advocate to say, you know, why not just completely?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I'm Eric Davis. I'm a parent of elementary school, and I've been subbing there a lot too. I guess as an elementary school parent, it's kind of instructed that everything we've been saying, like access to information in the class or ability to communicate with their parents for pickup or after school, you know, those kind of situations, that all happens in an elementary school environment without any of the kids having cell phones ever, right? So like they all have tablets or iPads or whatever it is, depending on the grade, where they have access to the information in various ways. It's on a school device, and also communicated through the office or through their parents, picking up schedules and all that kind of stuff too. So that's all happening. I was kind of listening, waiting. There isn't anything that's happening that isn't happening at the elementary school level, you know, except for the socialization thing. But if the whole school is on the same schedule, they're not missing out on anything, right?
That's well said.
No, you're absolutely right. I think the issue of autonomy is one that the students, I think, would counter with, and especially since we have students who have gone without restriction for so many years. So again, as I mentioned, I think it's a trend. There has to be a transitionary period. Otherwise, it does feel, and they express themselves quite intelligently about it being the feeling that it was punitive. And we want to make sure that I think it's important that we
let's just keep an eye on the
right. So like for our kids, also, and I think it's important to kind of like, as everyone said, I think everyone agrees that there's all the data is lots of negative aspects and lots of negative effects to kids in various ways, like not just devices having information, but just like the social aspects and all that kind of thing. It's all the data seems to come back as negative, but they enjoy them. So like, I mean, I'm at an age, I remember I had cell phones in college that just only rang, that didn't do anything, but you couldn't have that in your class because if it rang, there was a distraction. Just ringing, not anything else. And like someone else said about airports, and that's just what you had to do. And so I get that people are used to it, but like our kids at elementary school, they're not used to it at all. So I think it'd be good to kind of keep that in mind of bending that curve back towards what's actually good and not making it feel punitive either, because we're not taking it away from that age, but kind of bending back toward what's right for the class, and not what just the kids want. You know what I mean?
I think that's been our intention.
Yeah.
If I understand everyone, that was sort of the intention.
Right. And just remember that, like, you know, kids of elementary school age wouldn't think of it as punitive at all because they don't have it.
No.
So if we could kind of like keep going with that age through the grades, then it wouldn't seem so crazy.
That discussion came up last.
Because that wasn't even the, for the elementary school questionnaire, there's only two, which I appreciate, only two possibilities, which was just bring it, but keep it in your bag all day, no matter what, all day, except for like when the bell is rung, you could call your parent or whatever, but it stays in the bag or nothing at all. And so I appreciated those two options. Obviously the high school is different because of what's already established, but I think even that was telling that we can do it, they're just not used to it, you know what I mean? So that's it.
Okay, we're gonna continue discussion in our October 15th meeting. At that time, we'll have the data from the survey. Hopefully, we'll have some policies that are already generated from other districts or those that are in the works that we can review prior to that. Joel will put out to Jen and anybody else that needs that updated policy that Mike did back in March and the original surveys that went out to staff. I don't know if you saw those. We still have those, I believe.
Yeah, you would.
I do.
What are the plans for communicating the results of the survey? Are there any plans for communicating results of the survey? Not just to us, but
We have not discussed that.
I think
just
the
something to keep in mind, because I'm sure the question will be asked by parents.
yeah, I think the goal was to get the information so the board could
Yes.
have
Absolutely.
conversations that were wrapped around
Yep, it
what
makes
the
sense.
feeling was,
I
because
just
that's
am
the
sure
sense
that
of
there
it.
will be questions of what did the data tell us.
Yeah.
So, just a consideration when you're looking at it, of what that plan
Right.
is.
We
I
can-
think
If at
that's,
all.
We
If
can
at
most
all,
certainly put the, I mean, we did it for the board,
Yeah.
but we can most certainly put it on the website if that's.
I would think that those parents that are all acting on those surveys know that the board's looking to make a decision at some point in time, should come forward to our, and I would welcome parents to meeting. We can,
It's good
we can,
dialogue.
we can control it and have them speak, but I think we need to, welcome them here. So I would say that if a parent fills out a survey, they know that the district is looking to make some kind of plan for cell phone use. They should be able to come to our meetings and voice their opinion. But
A little bit of
if-
feedback, there was no mention of the cell phone policy in the question. It seemed like it was just a question up in here, just for the
So
elementary school, I'm not sure for the other
people
questions.
view our live stream, the last meeting we discussed cell phone use, and I had asked for parent involvement and staff involvement to come forward to the meetings at that point in time. So it's out there. Hopefully parents will now realize that we're having that discussion. And I will allow during public comment when we speak about the cell phone policy to allow parents to interact, but on a cordial way. All right, we'll wait until our October 15th meeting. Moving on to miscellaneous, just some updates. Ulster County School Board Association meeting dates for 2024 is on your backup, and also the membership directory is there.
And just a point of information, the UXPA meeting next Thursday night is one of the regional conversations about regionalization. So if any board member is interested, that's event in my Friday update. I will include it one more week, but that's happening at Ulster BOCES on the 10th, I believe it is.
Okay, I'll open the meeting up to public comment for general items. Yeah.
I think when you asked the question, I was just wanting clarification on the items that were change orders. Was that part of the project or no?
The
The change for the football and the track stuff.
all coming out of the capital project. Okay, no more public comment. We'll close it. Need a motion to go into executive session for HTA grievance discussion. Motion by Jen, second by Heather. We probably will not come back out in public. So nobody has to wait around.
Yeah, right.
Motion by